Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara and I make career, travel, and lifestyle content here on YouTube. So if any of that interests you, you already know what I'm about to say. Pause this video right now, make sure you are subscribed to my channel and you turn on the bell so that you're notified anytime a new video goes live. So by the title of today's video, you probably already can guess that I am going to be sharing 7 things that I would do differently if I were to start my career now. Obviously, it's really important to point out that the way in which we work has changed. Careers today are dynamic and evolving, and a lot of the ways that I personally grew up learning to navigate the working world, those same rules do not necessarily apply in the same ways today. So with that, whether you are just starting your career journey or you've been at it for a while, hopefully this insights will resonate with you and you will see places that maybe you're already doing and kind of double down in those areas, or you might find some gaps and some things that you can do better. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right into the video. Also, in case you're wondering what I'm drinking, this is a little bit of warm water with a little squeeze of lemon juice and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. So cheers. Woo. Okay. I've got my phone here with my notes so I don't lose my place, but we're gonna jump right into it. So the first thing that I would do differently is prioritize quality connections. And I know this kind of seems like duh, like you should always do this, right? Quality over quantity is really applicable to pretty much any aspect of life, but particularly when we talk about relationships. When I was earlier in my career, I grew up knowing the importance of having a robust, connected network, right? I grew up hearing phrases like, your network is your net worth, and it's not what you know, but who you know and who knows you. And so those things really early on kind of played a really integral part in how I navigated meeting people and building relationships. And so I was really eager. And one thing to know about me is I am a connector at heart. And so it has taken me a while to really understand how to utilize it in a way that is more strategic for me, in a way that is more sustainable, and in a way where I don't feel burnt out. As I mentioned, I was just kind of meeting with so many people and I had so many, like a breadth of connections, but really focusing on the meaningful part, right? Building the depth, because it's great to know people, but you also need to make sure that they can speak to who you are, what kind of opportunities you're looking for, and those things just don't happen with one conversation once a year. So if you are somebody who is either wanting to kind of build your network, or you're somebody who even wants to just maintain your network into this year, definitely keep that in mind, right? Keep in mind quality over quantity, making sure that the individuals that you are connecting with, that the relationships are meaningful and authentic and deep, so that way you can really derive real value out of your network. So that's the first thing I would do differently. I definitely would not talk to as many people as I did right off the bat. I think the other part to this, which I really struggled with, is when you are early in your career, you're very impressionable. And so because I was talking to so many people so early on, everybody had an opinion about what I should and should not be doing. And I didn't really have the ability to really decipher and read between the lines. I took everything like verbatim, and I typically did not take the time to like really reflect and see if what they were recommending was applicable to me and my situation and based on the goals that I actually wanted for myself. And so I think talking to so many people and really going for quantity of relationships really did do me a disservice later on, because I felt lost. I felt like I had too much input, and so I definitely had to dial it back a little bit. And so now I'm really focusing on building deep, meaningful connections with fewer people and then going from there. So that's the first thing that I would do differently. All right, let's get into number 2. The second thing that I would do differently is take more risks. And I get it. It is so easy to play it safe and stay in your comfort zone, but nothing grows in your comfort zone. I know for me particularly, I would say this is something that I have done pretty well throughout my career. I have taken chances. I, have moved several times. I have traveled. I have changed careers. I've taken a career break. And even still, I feel like there is more that I could have done and still can do to push myself even further and to truly make sure that I am taking the risks that are going to pay off in the long end. And I think this is an area that a lot of people struggle with because it's so easy to think about everything that could go wrong, right? Like, what if that doesn't work? What if I end up, XYZ? And those are just things that, yes, you do have to take calculated risk, right? You really need to think about the risk versus the reward and make sure that it is going to move the needle and help you get closer to what it is that you're working towards. But also understanding that it is a risk and you're not going to know everything until you actually experience it. And that is okay. There is beauty in navigating uncharted territories. There is beauty in navigating places that you have never been. And I, for one, want to continue to take risks. I don't ever want to look back on my career and be like, man, like, I wish I would have done that. Or like, man, I wish I'd had the courage to just step out. And when I think back on, different parts of my career, there are definitely different opportunities and experiences that I ultimately decided not to pursue out of fear. And while I don't have regrets, I think everything happens the way it's supposed to. I'm exactly where I should be. I can't help but to reflect and think about those things that I ultimately did not pursue and kind of where it would have taken me. So if you are somebody who is currently kind of looking at taking a risk in your career, but you're not quite sure how it's going to play out, this is your sign. This is some encouragement to just do it. All right, moving on to number 3. The third thing that I would do would be to prioritize your holistic well-being. So what do I mean when I say holistic well-being? Well, that means every single aspect of who you are as a person, not just professionally. Making sure that you're taking care of your body, you're eating balanced meals, you're getting enough sleep, you're taking care of your mental health, you're spending time with your loved ones, you are giving back to your community, you are investing and saving and building financial security for yourself for the future. All of those things matter. And I think a lot of the times we over-rotate on our professional life and making sure that we are set there, that we neglect self-care, we neglect prioritizing other areas of our life. And your career is not who you are, it's what you do, and all of these other aspects make up who you are. They help you to have a more fulfilled life. And I find that a lot of people who are struggling in their career, who are stuck, who are feeling just not happy, when I ask them what other things they are doing other than just going to work, generally they don't have an answer. You need to find and diversify your sources of meaning, particularly when it comes to how you're taking care of yourself. Do not let your job run you to the ground. Make sure that you are carving out space for yourself. So for me, that looks like my morning routines. Do I have to get up at 5 a.m. every day? No, I don't. But the reason that I do that is because I know that that is the quietest time of the day for most. It is the time when I have uninterrupted attention, that I can focus on myself. I can focus on my goals, whatever it is that I'm working on. I can record videos. I can go to the gym. I can do my quiet time. I can make sure that I'm eating a balanced meal. All of these things at the end of the day affect your professional life. And so I really encourage you, if you don't feel like you are currently prioritizing your holistic well-being, definitely give yourself a little assessment. So I'm gonna pop up the 8 areas of wellness, the 8 dimensions of wellness, and I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being we're doing amazing, no changes are needed. I want you to ask yourself how you're doing in each of these areas. And then from there, you can kind of see where you might need to focus your attention. Okay, we are moving right along and we love that. So the 4th thing that I would do is learn to say no. And this is definitely a skill. I, in the past, have had a really tough time telling people and opportunities and things no, because everything is experience. And, you know, it's an opportunity to meet people, it's an opportunity to learn. And all of those things are great, but at the end of the day, saying no allows you to create space for the things in your life that truly matter. I cannot tell you how many things I have said yes to and immediately regretted it. I have been guilty of overloading my plate and not being able to give 100% of myself to all of my commitments and spreading myself too thin. And that's not a good place to be either. And so these days, I really take a step back. I really like to think about my commitments before I just say yes to them. So that way I can make sure that I'm spending my time on the things that are going to give me the most benefit based on my priorities and the things that I have going on in life. So all that to say, if you are not good at saying no, I really encourage you to get better at it. It is a skill that we all need in our professional and our personal life, and understanding that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself. I think that is also part of why sometimes it can be hard to say no, is because you feel like you have to justify why you're saying no, or you feel like you have to over explain because you don't want to, you know, hurt the other person. You don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to let them down. But baby, it's not their business. It doesn't matter. You can say no, and that is reason enough. So it's something that I'm definitely leaning into more of these days, is saying no and not feeling guilty about it. That way I can give my yeses so much more power. When I say yes to something, it's because I truly believe in it. I'm invested in it. I want to show up 100% of the time, and you just cannot do that if you have too much on your plate. So that is one skill that is definitely helpful if you are starting your career today. All right, so the next thing that I would do if I were starting my career today is start a side hustle, okay? And I have personally had this goal for so long, for years. I have had the goal of starting a side hustle because I know how important it is to have multiple streams of income, especially in today's economy. It is almost impossible to be able to survive off of one singular income. Should it be like that? No, it shouldn't be, but unfortunately, we are where we are. And I also think that it is security. It's making sure that no matter what happens, you always have a way to protect yourself and to take care of yourself. Now, luckily, I have been able to start and sustain a small business, a career agency, and I love it. It has taken me a while to get to this point where I can be operating, and really looking forward to continuing to grow and expand my business. One of my current goals when it comes to my small business is creating more passive income streams. Right now, I have a one-on-one coaching program that is is kind of the majority of how I make my money, but I also would like to launch some digital products, maybe a course, and of course I would love to also partner more closely with brands. And so all of those things I want to continue to build out as potential offerings slash income streams for my business. But if you are somebody who is like, I have no idea what I would even do to start a side hustle, I don't know like what even to do, definitely take some time to think about the things that you really enjoy. Think about what it is that your friends often ask you for. Think about where you spend a lot of your time without even having to be asked. For me, when I reflect back on kind of the past few years, what I always got asked was, and this was before I even got into HR, my friends would always ask me for interview advice, for resume advice, for advice, coaching advice to different scenarios they were facing. I have just always been that person. And so it made sense for me to have a coaching business where I'm able to do that more formally. But again, it took me a while to finally put two and two together that this could be a lucrative small business for me. And so don't feel rushed, right? I also, over the course of, the past few years, up until I launched my business last year, I did a lot of like odd and end side hustles. So I actually babysitted before for people in my building, for people, my coworkers. I've, always kind of had that as a side hustle. I did Instacart for a while. And prior to launching my small business, I had several side hustles before then. I babysat for people in my building, even coworkers. I also drove Instacart for a year or so. So I've always played around with making more money, but I truly think that it's imperative. It is imperative that you do not put all your eggs in one basket. It's imperative that you diversify your sources of income, even if it isn't something that you're actively doing. There are some people who make money passively, whether they're trading or like from their stocks and things like that. So there are multiple side hustle options, and you have to just find what works best for you. But all right, moving on to the sixth thing that I would do is defining your career North Star. What do I mean by that? I think it's so important to have a vision for where you see yourself in your career. It took me a while to develop a North Star that I felt was authentic to me and not based on other people's opinions or expectations. And I think that it is such a good place to be in, to know that although you may not have every single step, having an idea of where you see yourself in the future helps to ensure that the decisions that you're making on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis are helping you kind of generally going in the right direction. Something else that I really like about just setting a vision for yourself is that it's not so much about the details. I personally have always struggled with writing down a 5-year plan. And I think it's because at a very young age, I knew that there are so many paths to get to there are so many ways to get from point A to point B, and a lot of the times we limit ourselves on what that should look like based on other people's experiences. And I think it's so important to be open to how you navigate your career path, because you just never know what opportunities or experiences or people that are going to get introduced to you on your career path that can completely change what you thought was possible for yourself. I also think it's important to define your North Star so that nobody else defines it for you. I think if you ask, everyone's going to give you an opinion on what they feel like you should be doing. But at the end of the day, it matters what you feel like you should be doing. Also understanding that it can change. You can decide at any given time that you actually don't want to go right, you want to go left, and that's completely fine. All that to say, spend some time getting really clear on what your professional desires are. What does that look like? And don't think about how you're going to make that happen. Just think about what if what if I could do X? What if I could wake up doing Y? Think about all of the possibilities. Don't limit yourself. Don't try to caveat it. Don't try to talk yourself out of it. Dream big and set that as your North Star, and then be open to how you get there. All right, before we end the video, let's talk about the last thing that I would do. And this one is arguably one of the most important that I have talked about or shared today. And that is building a personal brand. Now, what is a personal brand? A personal brand is going to be your unique skills, your values, your experiences, the things that kind of make you unique and send you. Now, what is your personal brand? So your personal brand is going to be your skills, your values, your experiences, those things that make you unique and help you stand out from other people, as well as how others perceive you. It is truly, truly imperative that you take inventory of your personal brand, because it is going to be your key for growing your career. For me, I've always known the value of personal branding, but I think it took me a while to take ownership of my personal brand, and again, to not let external factors really build that for me. And so I really encourage you to first and foremost take a look at your personal brand. What does it say about you, and is it true? Does it speak to your unique skills and values, and is it representative of who you want to be and the kind of opportunities that you want to attract? And if not, that's okay. It just means that you have a little work to do. Personal branding is almost imperative in today's career economy. It is the way to really help you stand out from the sea of candidates that are out there these days. It also helps position you for certain opportunities that maybe you would not have been exposed to. So I really encourage you to spend some time really getting clear on what is an authentic and meaningful personal brand for you. My personal brand is all about helping people get clear on who they are and what they want out of life to ensure that it's thriving for them. My personal brand is all about helping people define success on their own terms. My personal brand is all about traveling and being open to building new relationships. My personal brand is all about taking risks and having fun and leaning into the pivots of life. And so again, I really encourage you to get clear on what it is that your brand is saying about you and making sure that it is authentic and meaningful to you. All right, y'all, and with that, we're gonna end today's video here. I thought I would just share 7 things that I would do differently / double down on if I were starting my career today. And this list is not exhaustive. So now it's your turn. Let me know something that you would do differently in your career. If you knew then what you know now, and let's talk about it. I think, again, as I said in the beginning of my video, careers today are dynamic and evolving, and stuff is changing literally so fast, and it's so important that you kind of stay abreast of everything that's happening and you continue to position yourself to make the most of it. I'm really excited for the way in which careers are headed to one of more autonomy, to one of more personal ownership, to one of more like personal fulfillment and satisfaction, where you're not so dependent on one particular company or job to be everything for you. It is not fair, quite frankly, on your job and your organization to expect them to make you happy. That's not to say that organizations don't have room to grow in terms of how we are working today, but my personal opinion is that we have to focus on what we can control. And so I think it's important to think about what you can do differently in your career to get yourself to where you want to go. You can start with these 7 things. Ask yourself, are these things that you're doing? Are they not? And then you also have the ability to just take inventory for yourself and really think about where you are, where you want to go, and the habits and the routines and the mindsets that you'll need to change to help yourself get there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. Thank you so much. If you are still watching all the way to the end, you are a real one. I appreciate you for being here. We are so close to our 500 subscriber mark. So please share my page with a friend and let's grow this community. All right, with that, I will see you in my next video.